Don't speak what you don't understand. The truth is not in your command. Don't shout about what you think is fake.
Hey everyone, it's Marianne from the New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees. Yes, I know, it's Saturday night, and don't you think I should have a life? I think I should too, except we're constantly debunking bullshit, and I don't know what it is about, all of these people thinking that they've cornered the market on intelligence, and these are elected people, which is even more scary. Usually we're just doing like union leaders, but there is one specific council member, New York City Council member James Gennaro, that seems to get on everybody's last nerve by thinking that, everything that he says is correct, accurate, and anyone that pushes back on him, that we're a bunch of idiots. So this episode of Debunking Bullshit is in honor of Councilman James Gennaro. So what does this stem to? If you go over to his Facebook page, he's been constantly pressured by retirees to sign on to Intro 1096. And he's constantly saying that Intro 1096 is illegal and that I should go get new lawyers because they don't know what they're talking about. Well, our lawyers drafted the bill and the bill's not illegal. Also, New York City Council is a legislative body. They may have attorneys that might guide them, but their attorneys are literally working for the speaker, whose political action director is a former political action director of DC 37. So Jeremy John used to do all the politicking action stuff for the district council for our former union. And it was DC 37 who helped get the speaker elected to speaker and Jeremy John as her chief of staff. Now, this is one of the biggest reasons why the retirees have not been able to get through to the speakers, because of these loyalties and bias that she has towards the people that she employs, because they gave her the position that she's in. So she wasn't supposed to be the speaker. There was that's probably a whole nother video, but she is at this point, this is her last year as speaker. It's her last year in council. And I have no clue what her future is, but I think their New York City retirees is going to make sure that they have a big part of that. But this is where that loyalty comes from. The attorneys is in the leg doc area, the legislative documents unit. And there's a couple of attorneys in there like Jeff Baker and Nick Connell. And even the law department has weighed in on that. And that's actually one document I didn't pull up, which I probably should. So the law department was asked to weigh in on our retiree issues, and they did for the mayor actually, and wanted to put an opinion onto our bill from last year. In the document, it was about 19 pages long. The mayor's New York City Law Department actually says that their opinion that our bill is illegal is not free from doubt, and they say it twice. So the law department clearly has no idea what is on the right side or the wrong side. And they're clearly knowing at this point that we have won 11 times in court with 3 unanimous appeals decisions that the position that they've taken is wrong. So to put retirees through forcing them to pay for their own protection, which would benefit them too, by the way, these council members who were not part of a union, is cruel and inhumane, right? So back to James Gennaro. Jim has taken this position that the legislation is illegal. And let me see if I can show you some of his comments on Facebook. So this was pretty much lighting up today. I probably have way too many windows open. Well, maybe I didn't open that one. All right. So what I'm going to show you instead is I'm going to start showing you the documents. That'll be easier. In his comments, if I can pull that up on my phone and I can just tell you what it says, he's been arguing that the New York City bill is illegal and that he did not like that. I literally said to him today, we despise that you keep putting misinformation out there and not telling the truth. You're saying that this bill is illegal when it's not illegal. And he actually said that Mary Pinkett, who passed the last amendment to 12-126, that what she did was illegal. He writes, it violates the New York State Taylor law. Despite what council member Mary Pinkett did a generation ago, her law, although illegal, was not challenged. Have your lawyers explain it to you. I'm not your lawyer. And if your lawyers tell you 1096 is legal, you better get new lawyers. Best to you. So I said to him, I despise the fact that you, as an elected official, are lying to your constituents. You cite a law the bill violated, but you don't say how. So I ask you again, what passage of the law does Intro 1096 violate and how? And then I give him a copy of the Taylor law and I ask him to please cite and go read it and how is it being violated. So I said, educate me because, I'm open to being wrong, unlike him. And so he didn't like that, and he got angry that I said what I said. And let's see. He goes, despise me? I'm lying? Yes, of course you are lying. This conversation is over, and that's because he knows he cannot defend what he said. We asked for a citation. Just like this organization does time and time again, we ask for citing and sourcing where you're getting your talking points. If you're saying it's illegal, prove it to me. Don't just tell me you're pulling it out your rear end, because that's exactly what Jim Gennaro did. He says, this conversation is over. I'm not going to continue to indulge you in the face of slander. No, it's not slander, because I'm going to prove to you you're lying right now. You have your attorneys. The council has its attorneys. I'm not an attorney. I suspect you are not either. And my opinion is informed by legal counsel. Your opinion seems to be informed by what you want to be true, and insulting or denigrating me will not turn in your fiction into what you want to be true. You have lawyers, and they have represented you. Even though your case is not a hard one to make, the mayor's actions regarding retiree health care are discriminatory. It's actually not discriminatory. We've actually looked at that, Jim. That's another thing you don't know what you're talking about. But if ledge counsel is telling you it is, then that means you know that what they're doing is wrong and you're not doing anything to defend anyone about it. Also, you are a legislative body. You are not a judiciary. And just like council has passed bills before in hoping that they would go through, it was a judge brought before a court a bill to review whether it was legal or not. The New York City Council doesn't have that authority. They don't judge bills. They make bills. It is a court. So if we'd passed this bill, it would be someone who'd have to bring it before a court to determine whether it was legal or not. And that is not up to your council. That is not up to the city council either. You are not a judge. He says the mayor's actions regarding retiree healthcare are discriminatory. It's a slam dunk case. Actually, it's not. But that's why the retirees will always win appeal after appeal by the mayor. You want the council to make that go away. We have no legal authority to do that. You actually do. And if you don't know that that's your power, you really don't belong in that position. It's not my job, nor is it appropriate for me as a non-attorney to give you legal advice. Thank God for that. Otherwise, maybe you slept in a Holiday Inn last night and you think that gave you the ability to make legal opinions. But to keep saying it's illegal and it not being illegal, that's ridiculous. He says, that's your attorney's job. I challenge you to get from your attorneys a legal brief that explains how 1096 is legal. Now, we've already explained to Jim, our lawyers wrote it, so they definitely know it is legal. Let's see. He says they won't do that because it isn't. Further, the council supporters who are backing 1096 are the ones you should despise, because they're playing the retirees for fools to pander for votes in an election year by supporting a bill that will never be heard. Don't pass illegal bills. Ask them to plan how they plan to advance the bill that they sponsored. They don't have one. because they have no intention of moving this bill because they can't. Despise and slander them, not me. And you won't show me any analysis from your attorneys about the legality of 1096 because it isn't. Go ahead and produce that. You can't. Look, he tries to challenge me when I'm asking him first. You're telling me it's illegal. Cite and source it, buddy. Any other communication except that legal brief to me and you will be ignored. So you can't produce that. So again, I say this conversation is over. And I reply to him and I tell him that, well, you can't answer that question, even if you would. Thanks for proving our point. You just give one excuse after another. So I want to prove to you all that Councilman James Gennaro doesn't deserve to be a councilman, and all of this antagonistic bullshit that he's putting on his social media about 1096 being illegal, we're going to knock that out of the park right now. There's two laws that are on the books, and one is called the New York State Taylor Law, and the other is the New York City Collective Bargaining Law. And what his premise is because the bill interferes with collective bargaining because we're represented by unions. So let's go into that because this is really important because I'm so fed up with hearing this. This shows to me that people don't read. They just repeat what they're told. So I want to show you first. Did I pull that up? Oh, I did. New York State employees. Okay. So let's do a shared screen. This time, hopefully I get that to work. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. The New York State Public Employees Fair Employment Act, and that is called the Taylor Law. Oop, let me add that to there you go. Okay. So this is the Taylor Law, and it's called the New York State Public Employees Fair Employment Act, the Taylor Law. What is it? The Public Employees Fair Employment Act, commonly known as the Taylor Law, is a labor relations statute covering most public employees. I'm going to keep saying this. Employees. Doesn't say retirees. Doesn't say employees and retirees. It says covering most public employees in the state of New York, whether employed by the state or by counties, cities, towns, villages, school districts, public authorities, or certain special service districts. It became effective September 1st of 1967 and was the first comprehensive labor relations law for public employees, Jim, in the state, and among the first in the United States. It is the legal foundation used by OER in its negotiations with New York State public employee unions. What does the Taylor Law do? The Taylor Law grants public employees the rights to organize and be represented by employee organizations of their own choice, requires public employers to negotiate and enter in agreements with public employee organizations regarding their employees' terms and conditions of employment. Are you sensing a theme here? Establishes impasse procedures for the resolution of collective bargaining disputes, defines and prohibits improper practices by public employers and public employee organizations, prohibits strikes by public employees, and establishes a state agency to administer the law, PERB, the Public Employee Relations Board. Now, if we go all the way down to the bottom, there's actually a link to the law, Article 14 of the New York State Civil Service Law. Now, I also want to show you some sections here that are important. Let's go to definitions. Hopefully Jim is watching this and he's grabbing his pen. Okay. Now, the term terms and conditions of employment, that is a mandatory subject of bargaining, as you've heard me say a million times. Salary, wages, hours, and other terms and conditions of employment. So that already tells you retirees don't have those things. They're not covered by terms and conditions of employment. The term employee organization means an organization of any kind having its primary purpose the improvement of terms and conditions of employment of public employees, except that such terms shall not include an organization. A membership of one is prohibited by Section 1, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Now, clearly, we're not in unions. We're not subject to wages, hours, and work conditions. Therefore, we cannot be represented by a union because we're retired. I can't make this any more simple. The term government or public employer means in the state of New York, a county, city, state, city, town, or village, or other political subdivision or civil division of the state, school district, or governmental entity operating a public school, college, or university, a public improvement or special district, a public authority, commission, or public benefit corp, or any public benefit corporation, agency, or instrumentality of unit of government which exercises governmental powers under the state. Now, I want to go to the term public employee. This is even more important. It means any person holding a position by appointment or employment in the service of a public employer. We are not employed. We don't have a public employer. We're not holding a position. We're not a public employee. Therefore, this law doesn't protect retirees, doesn't affect retirees. This is for an employee in a union who has a job with a public employer. That's not retirees. So that's the basis of the New York State Taylor Law in its most simplest forms. So please feel free to read this. This is actually on the New York State Senate site. This is not a retiree law. Now, unions can negotiate for wages, hours, and work conditions for their employees and for their employees' future retirement benefits. But they have absolutely no right to negotiate for anyone who's currently retired because they're not a public employee and they're not in their union, Jim. That is as simple as the New York State Taylor Law gets. Now, let's go back. And I also now want to tell you about the New York City Collective Bargaining Law, NYCCBL. So you have the state office and you have the city office. The New York City Office of Collective Bargaining was modeled after the Taylor Law. So now I want to show you that because it basically mirrors the Taylor Law. So let's bring that up. Okay. The Office of Collective Bargaining, and this is literally on OCB's website, okay? I know, Linda, they're just not reading. This is absolutely ridiculous. So, again, basically the same thing. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Okay, that's better for me. All right, we're going to go to the same part. We're going to go towards definitions. The term municipal employees shall mean persons employed by municipal agencies whose salary is paid in whole or part from the city treasury. Now, Jim Gennaro, can you hear me? We're not municipal employees. This is the New York City Collective Bargaining Law, which is modeled after the New York State Taylor Law. We are not covered by these laws. The term public employees shall mean municipal employees or employers, employees of other public employers. The term municipal employee organization shall mean any organization or association of municipal employees, a primary purpose of which is to represent them concerning wages, hours, and working conditions. Are you seeing a pattern here? The term public employee organization shall mean any municipal employee organization or any other organization or association of public employees, a primary purpose for which is to represent public employees versus wages, hours, and working conditions. Let's see. The term certified employee organization shall mean any public employee organization. Doesn't say public retiree organization. I am not a public employee. Certified by the Board of Certification as the exclusive bargaining representative of a bargaining unit determined to be appropriate for such purpose. There's a theme here. Retirees can't file grievances. We tried this and we were refused when this case first started because the MLC lawyer actually said to us, those retirees are so stupid. They filed a lawsuit. They just should have filed agreements. And this is an attorney who's acting as a labor lawyer. Of course, he's the same lawyer that I believe is conflicted by working for all of these different unions, UFT, DC 37, 237, CWA, sanitation, and of course represents the MLC and is the labor chair representing the labor unions. But my belief is because he represents some of the two largest unions and also in those MLC agreements, those were really where his bread and butter is because he gets paid millions of dollars by those unions. So how could he fairly represent as a labor chair under the Municipal Labor Committee when he's also the union attorney for those larger unions? For example, United Federation of Teachers. He can't. He gets paid millions of dollars by Michael Mulgrew. So to do this and represent all unions, how can he do that? So his job in this situation would be to represent labor, and he can't do that fairly. But this again is another document that does show we are not public employees in the name of New York City collective bargaining law or even the New York State Taylor law. It's just not. So now I also want to show you one more document because every city union who has a contract has a description of who they represent. Edwin Hernandez, you're asking me, where does Carmen De La Rosa stand on 1096? Carmen is the chair of Civil Service and Labor. She had our bill last year. She had our bill this year in her committee, and she refuses to do anything with it. Absolutely nothing. She doesn't want to bring it to a meeting, doesn't want to bring it to a hearing, doesn't want to discuss it. Nothing. Yes, I know. Gennaro's got to go. Absolutely. How is he a council member? Because I don't know. People just don't know how ridiculous he is and that he doesn't know what he's talking about. But as true to form, we keep calling out, we debunk bullshit. Today's episode is debunking Jim Gennaro. Do a mass email mailer to him, subject line required reading. We might have to actually print it out for him because he definitely ignores what he wants to. If the union can't bargain for retirees, how was Local 100 able to change retirees' health benefit? Well, Greg, that's a really good question. It's the same way that our unions did. They did it because they sold us off for a raise. Your union sold you off your Medicare benefits for a 2% raise. So they didn't expect anyone to call them out on it. The judge hasn't made a decision in your case yet, but you definitely have a duty of fair representation argument against your union for that. So let's go to the contract. So this contract is actually the very first contract from a brand new union, and it is the ALE union, Association of Legislative Employees for the New York City Council. They are a brand new union. These are all your staffers that work for your council members. So like people that work for Jim Gennaro. So in Article 1 of every single union contract, let me see if I can even make this bigger. Every contract describes who that contract, nope, doesn't let me make it bigger. If you go to the New York City Office of Labor Relations website, NYCOLR, and you go to labor, look at recent contracts. This is the New York City Council staff agreement, 2021 to 2027. It is a recent agreement, but you could pull up any contract, not like an MOU or just an updated or reopener, but a full contract. Article 1 of every union contract will say union recognition and unit designation. This section says the employer recognizes the union as the sole exclusive collective bargaining representative for the bargaining unit set forth, consisting of employees, Jim, of the employer wherever employed, whether full-time, part-time, per annum, hourly, or per diem, in the below listed titles and in any successor title that may be certified by the Board of Certification of the Office of Collective Bargaining to be part of the unit herein for which the union is the exclusive collective bargaining representative. And then it lists these 3 titles: council member aide, legislative financial analyst, and senior legislative financial analyst. So Section 2, the term employee and employees as used in this agreement shall mean only those persons as described in Section 1 of the article. I don't even need to go back and read any more of this because right there, I think I've proven my point, and we're only on this for 27 minutes. So Jim Gennaro, if you're listening, you need to go read the New York City collective bargaining law. You need to read the New York State Taylor law, and you need to read a contract, any contract, to determine who they represent. And they're not representing retirees. Therefore, retirees are not in a union. We're not violating any collective bargaining agreements. And this is why in all of the amendments in the past, no union actually came out to either introduce those bills. It was always done typically by DC 37 Retirees Association. Not a union. There may have been a union that came out to support it, like in that last amendment in 01. It was Randy Weingarten that came out to make a support, but she didn't even come. She sent a staffer to come out to support it in her testimony. The bill's not illegal. It establishes that there should be a preservation of a floor of benefits. What that benefit is the city must continue to provide the supplemental to Medicare like it's done for 60 years. It preserves that. It doesn't diminish it. And it allows the unions, if they want to build upon it. It preserves a 60-year-old floor. It preserves a 60-year-old floor. FLOOR. It's been the same benefit for 60 years. And so that's what's really important about this. Yet unions can build upon it however high they want for their future retirees. But like I keep saying, that current retirees are like teachers or firefighters, police officers in Nebraska or China. They're not in their units. If the city, look, for example, the city council passed a law to provide health care, mental health for students. We are like that because we are not in any union. So that is very similar to what we're talking about. No one looks out for us. We're not in any bargaining unit. We're not taking away from anything. The city council had no problem with giving mental health benefits to young people in school. But you want to torture elderly retirees, disabled retirees, children. For what purpose? It makes absolutely no sense. CJP says, I think it's becoming clearer as we further organize. These corrupt union bosses are trying to contain the vast knowledge of information. Yes, because they don't want it out there what they did. They literally lied to the electeds. They lied to them. There's no getting around that. I want to play that one part again. Do you remember that video that I did about Alan Klinger? Klinger literally says, and I played this for Eric Botcher the other day, this bill is not illegal, but what it does is if the city has to pay for those retirees, it's less than it would pay for an active worker. Alan Klinger, the attorney for several major unions, including the UFT, DC 37, Greg Floyd's 237, Gloria Middleton, CWA 1180, Sanitation, Harry Nespoli, the MLC, literally said, if the city has to pay for those old people, it's less it's going to give you, the active worker. And not a union in that room, well, there was a couple. Most of the unions in that room didn't speak out. They were okay with the them versus us. Alan Klinger said the bill's not illegal. They wanted our damn funding. So Jim Gennaro and any council member listening to this, Justin Brannon, for example, Justin told me bring the full bill back. I did. Where are you, Justin? We have almost a dozen council members who are lawyers. Every time I see Julie Menon, she's like, I didn't read it yet. I need more time. How many more years do you need? This is almost like the New York City Council is the failed lawyers club because they couldn't make it as an attorney on the outside. They joined the city council and they're like basically useless here. I'm so frustrated with all of them. It's absolutely frustrating. David, Marianne, your analysis is impeccable. Thank you, David. I try to make these easy to follow, but clearly, just think if all of us were armed with the same labor knowledge and information that Marianne shares with us tirelessly, knowledge and power. But knowledge is power. And this is what they don't want you to know. This is why the unions don't want to tell you this, because if you did, if you knew this, you'd push back or you'd ask questions. The union leadership doesn't want you to ask questions. They just want you to go along and accept what they're doing. The sense is moving money we retirees lost. We need our funding back. The funding's still there, my dear. The law says the city will pay the full cost of health coverage. The law is still there. He should read the documents and apologize for his poor and insulting comments. Well, everyone should go up on Jim Gennaro's page. You'll see the comments just pile on, because clearly, and this is right now live streaming, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So I know he's on Twitter and I know he's on Facebook. Share this link. This is the Jim Gennaro Hour. This is absolutely crazy. Thank you too. Why don't you care? While the elites just laugh their way to the bank. Yeah, because they're robbing people blind that don't know they're being robbed. I mean, it's crazy. So, yep. That's today's episode of Debunking Bullshit in honor of Councilmember James Gennaro. Feel free to share this video. Share it a million times. If you really, really want me to, I'll set up an action network just for Jim. But this is what we're dealing with. An elected official. His Facebook name is James, either James, I think it's James Gennaro. Yeah, James Gennaro is on Facebook and Jim Gennaro on Twitter. So if you are on Facebook, he's under James Gennaro. And let's see. He's got that's what his Facebook page looks like. Okay. James Gennaro, District 24. He's in Queens. So if you're in Kew Gardens Hills, Lechester's Local 3. Tom Cazzo, if you're listening to this, you need to pressure this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Fresh Meadows, Hillcrest, Jamaica Estates, Briarwood, Parkway Village, Jamaica Hills in Jamaica. Yep. And then we need someone to run for that district because I'm tired of this. We need to definitely get good people in there that'll do the right thing by people and not spew bullshit like this just to preserve their own jobs. Yes, I thank you, Leela. I would definitely agree with you. Councilmember James Gennaro is a complete idiot. I agree with you. You're welcome, Greg. I just got home this afternoon. I am exhausted, but when I saw these Facebook comments, I had no choice but to say, all right, here's another debunking bullshit episode in honor of James F. Gennaro, council member, Queens. So short and simple, 35 minutes. Have a great night, everybody. You know I love you. Now I'm going to go have another cup of coffee and relax. So have a great evening. Share the hell out of this with your council members, including with James Gennaro, council member of Queens. Let him read this because he doesn't want to listen to me anymore. He thinks I insulted him. But I'm not slandering him either because I just proved that he is a liar and he is spreading bullshit information on the internet. This is one of the things I absolutely despise, and I'm not going to stop. You allow that to proliferate, then that stays true. What was that saying, from that old movie that I did a couple of years ago? If you allow where the lie becomes the legend, yeah, this is what that is. Jim Gennaro thinks he's a legend in his own mind, and he's not. So we're just going to keep on doing this. Lisa says, let's all share it to his page. Go ahead, hit him up every single day. He needs to start hearing. Maybe osmosis, if he reads it enough, he'll actually believe it. So, Jim Gennaro, healthcare is free on retirees' back. Well, actually, you're right, because his healthcare stays free as long as you're getting screwed. All right, guys. Yes, Liberty Valance. That's it. Whoever said that. Thank you. That's the movie. What was that saying? It was like when the lie becomes the legend, tell the lie. This is the lie. This is the big lie. Oh my goodness. I'll have to go dig up that old video, but yes, that's exactly what it is. Liberty Valance. So, all right, everyone. I'm going to get myself all worked up. Have a great night. I am sorry to barge in on your I am sorry to barge in on your Saturday, but I am fed up with this guy. I love you. Have a great evening.
Don't speak what you don't understand. The truth is not in your command. Don't shout about what you think is fake. The decision isn't yours to make. Don't lie about the way things are. Tall tales will take you very far. Don't scoff when they say it's the end. In this life, you know you can't pretend. The days pass by.